German Defense Minister Christine Lambrecht said she believes Germany is obliged to play a leading global role and that the country should not be afraid of the responsibility. According to her, Germany must assume the military leadership role in Europe. The German minister said, "Germany's size, its geographical situation, its economic power makes us a leading power whether or not we want to be one. Militarily as well." Her remarks come as Europe is struggling to come to terms with the fallout from Russia's invasion of Ukraine, with Germany rethinking its defense strategy after decades of major dependence on Washington for its security. The minister said, "The war in Ukraine has shown everyone, even us Germans who are used to peace, that states need armed forces as a last resort, that is, whenever an enemy is determined to use invasion, destruction, murder and forced displacement, as means to serve its interests." For Germany to fulfill its military role, it needed to invest 2% of its gross national product in defense as demanded by NATO. Germany needed to meet NATO's spending target even after $101 billion special fund for the military that was agreed this year is used up. The minister said, 2% of our GDP for our security. We need this money without ifs or buts, and we need it for the long run so that the effort we are making with the 100 billion is not in vain. We must prevent a situation where, in a few years, we cannot afford the maintenance of the equipment that we are purchasing now. Germany can do this. Germany does not need to be afraid of this new role. Lambrecht acknowledged that Germany's Nazi-era crimes and the war of destruction, waged by its army in Europe between 1939 and 1945 had turned skepticism about the military into a kind of virtue. But she said Germany could only guarantee peace and freedom for its people if it abandoned its old self-image and defined security as the central task of this country. Lambrecht confirmed that Europe's security was still guaranteed by the US. She said, "But this ally has been forced to shift its main focus of attention to security in the Pacific region. This meant that Europe, and above all Germany, had to play a more important role. Germany is ready to take the burden off America in Europe and thus make a decisive contribution to sharing the load fairly." Speaking of the conflict in Ukraine, Lambrecht announced that Germany will send 2 more multiple rocket launchers as well as 50 armored personnel carriers to Ukraine. On top of that, Germany will send some 200 rockets for the launchers. Ukraine has recently called on Germany to increase its weapons deliveries following a successful counteroffensive against the Russian occupation. The minister said, "We have decided to deliver 2 more Mars 2 multiple rocket launchers including 200 rockets to Ukraine. On top of this, we will send 50 Dingo armored personnel carriers to Ukraine." Germany has been repeatedly criticized by Ukraine for dragging its feet on weapons deliveries. They have called for Leopard tanks and Marder armored personnel carriers. After initial hesitation by the German government to send any weapons to Ukraine due to it being an active war zone, Germany supplied the Ukrainian military with equipment, ammunition and anti-aircraft tanks. It has also pledged to send more than €500 million worth of weapons in 2023 to help Ukraine fend off the Russian invasion. But pressure on Germany has grown as Ukraine's surprise counteroffensive saw it regain large stretches of land from Russian forces. Berlin still insists on sending all weapons supplies in coordination with its close allies. Weapons to Ukraine. Lambrecht has previously defended her ministry against accusations of failing to defend the country. Furthermore, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz called on Russian President Vladimir Putin to pull out his troops from Ukraine, as a counter-offensive by Kyiv's forces made swift progress. Scholz in a 90-minute telephone call urged Putin to come to a diplomatic solution as quickly as possible, based on a ceasefire, a complete withdrawal of Russian forces and respect for the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine. The Chancellor also encouraged his Russian counterpart to stick to a deal allowing grain exports from Ukraine that Russia has repeatedly criticized. Scholz told Putin not to discredit and continue to fully implement the grain deal in light of the stretched global food supply. During the call, the German Chancellor raised the question of security at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest, which has been a focal point of fighting in recent weeks. The German leader asked Putin to avoid any escalation and implement in full the measures recommended by the International Atomic Energy Agency. On the other side, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock rejected Russia's claim that Western weapons deliveries played a part in Moscow's decision to expand its military objectives in Ukraine. Baerbock said Moscow kept changing its argument, adding that it was just new propaganda from the Russian side. Russia is using every time a different argument. This time it is because of the military support, they are saying. But they have been attacking Kyiv and other parts of Ukraine before. Baerbock said Germany would support Ukraine not only with solidarity, not only by mentioning every day that this is a fundamental breach of international law by Russia, but also with military support, so they can self-defend their country, their territory. Baerbock defended Germany's supply of weapons to Ukraine, with a recent study putting Europe's largest economy in sixth place when it comes to weapons provision to Kyiv. This is not a race of who's in which place in a ranking, she said. This is about common support from the whole international community, from NATO member states to support Ukraine. The minister added that Germany and the Netherlands were delivering howitzers, others ammunition and air missile defense systems, hopefully, by the end of summer. Furthermore, Germany sent 13 military aircraft to joint exercises in Australia, in one of the German Air Force's largest peacetime deployments amid rising tensions with China in the Indo-Pacific. The German aircraft participated in the Pitch Black training exercise, along with forces from Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea. German Defense Minister Christine Lambrecht said, "Of course, our current focus is clearly directed towards the east. But we must also direct our attention toward other regions," referring to Russia's invasion of Ukraine and China's threat over Taiwan. 6 Eurofighter jets took off from a base in the southeastern German state of Bavaria. 3 A330 tankers and 4 A400M transporters took off from Cologne around 30 minutes prior. During the drills, pilots conduct almost 200 mid-air refueling maneuvers. The deployment also includes detours to Japan and South Korea. Since at least 2018, Berlin has committed itself to play a security role in the Indo-Pacific, as has almost every other major Western power. In September 2020, Berlin published its Indo-Pacific guideline paper, outlining Germany's strategy over the Indo-Pacific region against the China threat. A German Foreign Ministry statement asserted that Germany and the EU want to deepen their security engagement in the Indo-Pacific region in order to help strengthen the rules-based international order. It was stated in Europe's first Indo-Pacific Ministerial Forum, an event overshadowed by